This is Chip Baker with the Real Dirt Podcast. We're back again. Wow, it's been a long time since we put out an episode, but we got a lot of important things going on in the cannabis industry, and we felt like this was the perfect time to get back into it. Today it is July 10th, 2022. I'm in Denver, Colorado. We've been spending time all over the country, but primarily in Oklahoma this past year. And it seems that the state of the cannabis union is really in flux right now, with the economy, with inflation, with post-COVID, structure of business and life. The cannabis industry is really taking a turn. Today, I have Jessica Baker as my guest. Jessica owns and operates a series of cannabis businesses in Oklahoma. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you for having me on the show, Chip.
Always a pleasure to talk to you about cannabis and cannabis business. Jessica, introduce yourself a little bit. I know you've been on the show before, and many people know you as my wife. But you are an incredible entrepreneur and educator. And let's just talk about Jessica for one long moment.
Okay, great. Thank you for the introduction. I am your wife, gladly. But I am also an acupuncturist for the last 15 years and a Western herbalist for the last, 2 decades plus. So I am well-versed in, Chinese medicine and Western herbalism. And also I own several cannabis businesses. I've been growing medical cannabis since 1997, back in the good old days. And so probably grown a lot of different ways, not every way, but I've definitely dabbled in growing in multiple different modalities. And I own a clone nursery in Oklahoma City, as well as a cultivation and a processing facility. And so I kind of do a little bit of everything. And I love cannabis and I love your show.
Well, thanks, Jessica. And, I really appreciate all the women weed warriors out there. This industry is filled with dudes, and dudes often try to dominate, whatever we're involved with. That's just the dude power. But, we know so many women cultivators, women extractors, women business owners. And, I get to see it throughout the industry. I see, maybe you call it discrimination against women business owners, just as we see it in the rest of society. But man, if the women that in the cannabis industry, I guarantee you they're working twice as hard as the dude right next to them. And if you have a problem, you should go maybe chat with the women that in the cannabis industry and see how they feel about what's going on. Because often they have a different perspective than our dude-oriented industry.
Bro science, man. Bro science.
It is bro science. But yeah, we're here today to talk about the cannabis industry. Boy, it is in a tailspin. Every aspect of the cannabis industry, from the manufacturers and the suppliers of all the equipment, transportation, all the cultivators, the distributors, the grow stores, the dispensaries, everybody is really feeling this economic depression right now. Jessica, how has it been in Oklahoma? What's going on there?
Oklahoma has been, an interesting market, to say the least. When we first got there, 3+ years ago, it was a very immature market in terms of the knowledge surrounding cannabis was pretty limited to, the little bit of knowledge that people had gained over the years from, the private market, which is always amazing. But the strain names and things like that really hadn't quite hit Oklahoma yet. But now, it is pretty much, you're hearing the same things as you're hearing in Colorado and California in terms of grow techniques, terminology, and cultivars that are now popular in Oklahoma. So I feel like I've really seen that change, and people get really enthusiastic about cannabis. And so, the last year, we've definitely seen, especially at the clone nursery, a lot of the big cultivators aren't buying clones like they have been the 2 years previously. A lot of people that were maybe larger cultivators came in and bought less clones because their facilities that were 10, 20, 30,000 square feet, maybe they didn't have the knowledge to pull off that large of a grow at the very beginning. So they were like, hey, I'm going to scale back, learn a little bit more about it, and then I can always scale up again in the future. And then I know people who, unfortunately, maybe they had a 401k they took out, or some early retirement, or some other personal investment to invest in cannabis, and it didn't work out for them. And now they aren't cultivating anymore. Either they want to sell their license, or they are just kind of letting it stay dormant for a little bit.
Tell us about what you feel about the number of cultivators that in Oklahoma that aren't cultivating this year, or number of businesses that maybe have gone out of business or just aren't operating.
Well, I only know a handful of those, but I can say it's all across the board, from dispensaries to processors to cultivators. I've heard a little bit from all of those sectors saying that they're taking a break, or that they just downright are going back to their job at the, doing oil rigging, or whatever it is. I don't think that's the proper terminology, but they've just decided they're going to go back to what they were doing before,
right?
Or what they never stopped doing, and they were doing cannabis on the side. And so, yeah, it has been significant. I know that where we've heard stories about when Metric came into law at the end of May, that a lot of people never signed up for Metric that actually had a license, and so maybe they were going to do that later, or maybe they just decided, well, I'm out now that there's more regulation and work to be done to have a legal business.
To catch up in Oklahoma, they've had a series. One, if you don't know, really was a free for all until recently on getting licensed and starting cultivation in Oklahoma. But in the past couple of months, we've had a series of things going on, between changes in the law, moratoriums in the licenses, requirements for Metric, tiered licensing, and it has, reduced the number of people in the industry. Right? Some people just didn't want to deal with it, or they were barely making enough revenue to support their hobby, so to speak.
Yeah, and like OMMA, the Oklahoma Medical Marijuana Advisory, or stands for something like that. We've had a couple of inspections now. It took a couple of years or more, but we finally have been starting to get inspected. And our inspectors are telling us that, they're going to places that are non-operational.
So a lot of places
still have a license, but they're not operating.
And we haven't touched on the elephant in the room, but it is about the decrease in price.
Oh, 100%. It has to do with also the decrease in profit margins for people.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not just Oklahoma. Across the country, people are having these, this decrease in cost per pound, cost per gram, from the wholesalers to the distributors to the manufacturers. Everybody has their theory on why you think this is. And some people say it's just simply supply and demand, but I believe it goes a little bit deeper than that. But why do you think the national price of cannabis has dropped so much, and why do you think it's dropped so much in Oklahoma?
I think it has dropped nationally because there's just so much cannabis being grown in a lot of states that never were legally allowed to grow before. And I think with Metric or not, I think there are still ways that people are probably putting that on the private market, even though they're meant for the public market. But I think there's just a glut in cannabis. I know people...
Or the regulated market.
The regulated market.
Right.
So I know that there's a glut of, cannabis in Oklahoma, in Colorado, in California, and in Oregon. Overproduction. People still are sitting on hundreds or thousands of pounds from last year, and now they're growing again this year. So there's going to be even more on the market.
So do you think this is overproduction in the regulated market or the illicit market?
Probably both.
Both.
Yeah, I would say both.
Yeah, farmers mostly have one business plan. We talk about this many times on The Real Dirt: is prices down, grow more. Prices up, grow more. And that's really what's gone on. And, there was just such this huge increase in demand for cannabis products. 2020, 2021. And it's a fact. Unemployed people consume more weed, right? Unemployed people smoke more weed, right? So, all those people have gone back to work. Right now, we're at the lowest unemployment rate, one of the lowest the country's ever seen. Like, everybody's back at work, but the economy's not so great.
And if gas is $5 a gallon and you have to make a choice between buying your eighth for the week or your ounce for the week, or continue to put gas in your car to get, to work and everywhere else you're going, then you may have to sacrifice by spending less on cannabis.
Or many people would walk. Many people don't have that option.
Yeah, many people, right? Unfortunately,
don't have public transportation options, but that recreation is one of the first things to go. And, they say that like the vice industries are recession proof, but it's just not true as we see it now. If people just don't have the money to spend on it, and cannabis isn't like coffee or alcohol, right? People really need that coffee and alcohol. And most people can just like do without the weed. They might want it, but they can do without it. And it's similar to the clone business. We were talking about this earlier, is, one of the first ways that farmers can cut their costs is by not buying clones. And, one of the things that I see, farmers use clone nurseries for is when they can't fill up their fields, they can't fill up their rooms, and they come to clone nurseries often in an emergency situation.
Absolutely. Right? We see that a lot.
And they say, oh, my clones died, or... Yeah,
exactly. My clones died, or I bought clones that ended up herming out, or had mites, or
emergency
whatever.
Situation. Yeah. And it's often because they need to fill up that room.
Yeah.
But many people are shutting down lights. They're shutting down greenhouses.
The rooms are getting smaller. They had, 8 rooms in a 20,000 square foot facility, and they're going to run 2 of them.
Right. And that's or really
they
the smart
started
thing
their
to do.
own moms.
Right.
And took clones.
Right.
But most of them still come back saying, my clones didn't work out. I need more. We always need more, not always, but.
Yeah, totally. But no, we know several people who have shut down parts of their business, and aren't cultivating any longer because they can buy cannabis cheaper or as cheap as they can produce it. And so now in their dispensaries, instead of making it in-house, they're buying it on the market.
Yes. Yep. I see all of that.
What about this overproduction that's been going on in Oklahoma?
So, the overproduction in Oklahoma is twofold. One, and just to be frank, it's to be frank a little bit about the overproduction of Oklahoma is that a lot of the cannabis just isn't really that great. So you have inexperienced growers growing outdoor in a really harsh environment.
Yeah, or in greenhouses.
In harsh environments.
It's difficult.
And so it's kind of sub-quality weed. And so that's one reason why the price is so low.
Plus, when the market is flooded with whatever it is, the price does drop, but it drops that lowest common denominator with the quality of the weed being.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people, outdoor growers and greenhouse, and even indoor, they know that they're just growing for extraction and that their quality is only going to be extraction material anyway. And so there's a large volume of only things that they know will only go to the extractor. So the quality doesn't have to be there.
Right. But then somehow that extractable quality weed still ends up in the flower market.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Because there's just thousands and thousands of pounds. Do you have an estimate of how much? Nobody even knows how much weed was grown in Oklahoma last year, right?
I can't even try to guess, but I mean, hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Million?
I don't even know, but a lot.
Million pounds.
Tons and tons.
2 million pounds.
So I think that's part of it. And then I also think that...
Hey, right now, if people are listening to this, we're definitely getting some responses about how Oklahoma's fucking up the market for everybody else.
But that's just not true.
Because California and
Oregon have way more cannabis than Oklahoma even has, because there's more people and it's better quality and it's still going for super cheap. And that has nothing to do with Oklahoma's outdoor. and non-regulating the amount of plants you can grow.
Yeah.
So,
talking to people around the country, we still see the most cannabis, both regulated and, private market cannabis is coming from California and Oregon.
I mean, California, of course.
Right. It's just Johnny pot seed over there.
Yes.
You just put it in the ground and it grows great. It's, not like that anyplace else in the country.
Absolutely.
So we got in Oklahoma, we've got an overproduction issue. We've got an inflation issue. And we kind of have a regulatory issue that's occurred here too.
But, the other thing we have is the fact that a lot of people with no knowledge or history of being in cannabis
or business
thought that it would be easy money.
Get rich quick, money.
To get into cannabis. And then 3 years later, they're realizing that's not actually true. And so I think that's a large part of it too.
Getting rich quick since 86.
Yeah. I mean, we love, it is what it is. But I think that also contributes at least to Oklahoma.
Quick. It's not get rich quick, is it?
No, it's absolutely not. You may have some couple great harvests and think you made some money, but you never know.
Hey, few people can do this number where they enter the market, get a bunch of weed, make a bunch of profit and leave and exit. The in and out hot potato business strategy, right? People, that just doesn't work for people.
No, absolutely
right?
not.
But there's this just dream. And what happens for most people is they put all of their retirement,
exactly.
Their 401k, their friends' money, their grandparents, whatever
investment,
and they lose it, right? Because they're inexperienced. They may love weed. They may have grown weed all of their life. They may grow great weed, but none of that matters in commercial sales, commercial production. When the price drops so low, you have to know how to grow that cannabis as inexpensive as possible, but still remain the highest quality.
Absolutely. But most people, especially with how low the prices are right now, even for indoor in a lot of places, it's really, you have to know how much it actually costs you to grow per pound to make sure you're not actually losing money on every pound that you sell.
Yeah, absolutely. And many people, there's this struggle because so many people think that you're reducing quality and blah, blah, blah. But so much of it is just organized as space, time, and materials, right? And people, right? And if you can organize space, time, materials, and people, you will have the most efficient operation that you can get, no matter what technique you're growing under. But when you're able to do that, then you will reduce your cost of good, your overhaul cost. And hey, let's talk about that, Jessica. What do you think the break-even cost of production for farmers should be or needs to be for people to continue to stay in the industry, for cultivators?
I mean, that's hard to say if you are just talking about you're growing for extraction in Oklahoma. Pounds for extraction go for about $50 a piece. So if you're growing cannabis for under $50 and then, and that's your entire cost of labor and,
so if you think you're going to grow it for extraction in Oklahoma,
then you better be growing it for $25 a pound.
Or $5 a pound.
Or $5 a pound. I mean,
which is hard to do, right? Because of the manual labor associated with harvest, mostly manual labor associated with planting. Totally. All the irrigation can be put together. But what about indoor?
I mean, indoor, again, I've seen indoor for as low as $500 in Oklahoma. Right. And these, I don't know if they're truly selling indoor, if they're just calling it indoor, hard to say. But I've seen what they call indoor that does not look that great for $500 a pound.
We see this throughout Oklahoma, and we're unsure if it's just, nice greenhouse operations, poor operators indoors.
Yeah, I don't know.
We don't quite know.
But I know I've seen it, I've even seen $350 pounds of indoor with somebody that claims they have a 50,000 square foot facility.
We have seen those prices in Colorado too, heard them. I don't think that's the average price, but those are the lows. What do you think people in Oklahoma are producing for how much does it cost to produce it? That's what I'm asking.
I mean, I honestly don't know for people because I don't know.
So you have to, yeah, okay.
Because I don't know if what they owe on the building they're growing in. Are they paying back investors every month for part of this grow? Or if it's, they own the building,
But
they
if they're
lease the
selling
building.
it for $500 a pound, then you got to endorse specifically.
They're either liquidating to get rid of all their losses.
$450 a pound is how much it's going to cost.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
If you're the one of the best operators in the country, you've got all your shit together, you might be at $250 a pound indoors. And some people can do it even cheaper. And that's trimmed all your cost of production in the bag.
Yep.
Most people, it's not that much money. It's $450. It's $750.
It could be $1,000 for some people.
For some people. And it doesn't matter how great the weed is.
I mean, I am still hearing some rumor of there's a couple growers in Oklahoma claiming they're still getting 2,000 an indoor pound. I have yet to see that.
I'm sure that exists.
But the emails I get, they're not selling for that much. That's $1,250.
So there's the other thing we've talked about pricing throughout the country too, and now it's even worse, is these emails and texts often I feel like are just driving the price down. And so much of it's fictional. Right. There's nobody that has the operation that needs 1,000 pounds a day or, it's just fictional in order to drive the price down or to manipulate the market or just people fucking around.
Well, and these brokers, don't even get me started on how they lowball and then still try to get the same price in Oklahoma, none of them had a license to be doing that anyway.
Yeah, they shouldn't be called brokers. They should be, hey, pardon me to all of you brokers out there. They're really nice and honest dudes. They shouldn't be called brokers. They should be called hustlers.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, we always called them middlemen, and we really never liked them unless they were helpful and actually not just trying to rip off the growers.
Well, what I've seen between old days and these days and distributors and brokers is old days, it was like a set hey, I'm going to get $50 or $100 a pound.
Now they want as much as the grower makes.
Yeah, exactly.
Per pound.
Exactly. And they're just trying to lowball the grower to get that price down so much. And then the bad part is it's usually not even their money. So it's often this fucked up deal where they're truly middlemen. Someone else has the money, right? And, they're
acting like they have some inside knowledge into the weed space. So they should
just
be
got the
brokers.
connection and they should be paid for that connection. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know, if you want a sustainable business and you really wanted to clean up, having a reasonable brokerage fee, hell, what,
But you can't be trying to make $200, $300 off a pound you're buying for $500 or $400. That's too much.
You're going to go out of business doing that. It's just not going to work out.
Well, not only that, but
there's brokers right now, I know. But hey, man, some of you guys are going to go out of business right now. Or your profit definitely is going to change.
Yeah, absolutely. As it should. Because, once again, the farmers are always the ones who take the hits.
Yeah. Let's talk price structure. That's a great way to do it. All right. So we've been talking cost of production, but farmer sells the pound for $500. Let's just say $500. Yeah. He sells it to a dispensary direct, right? Dispensary sells $100 ounces. They make $1,600. Dispensary sells $75 ounces, right? They're making $1,200.
But then 40% of that goes to the tax man because of, the...
40% of the profit, so not 40% of the sale.
Right. Well, 40% of that profit then goes.
That goes to the tax man.
Well, that goes to the feds, and then if you're in Oklahoma City, 15.5% of that immediately goes to the city and the state.
But that usually gets passed on, though. It's usually not out the door pricing on what I'm talking about. Sometimes
in Oklahoma, they really like out the door pricing.
Yeah, but it's just not the standard, and. So basically what I'm saying is you're buying it for $500, you're selling it for $1,600, you're making $1,100 profit, and then 40% of that should go to the man, which is about $400 and something dollars. So Now you just made $600-700 on a $500 pound. There's still quite a bit of money going on with dispensaries.
Absolutely. But I mean, especially in Oklahoma, man, you're seeing 3 ounces for $150. And,
Yeah, but that's greenhouse or outdoor weed.
I know. I'm just saying, though, like,
right.
I'm not seeing the high priced in Oklahoma. I don't see as much of the high priced
weed. Of course.
I mean, than you
right.
used to. So I do think in some respect, those profit margins may not be as high, but I'm sure they're still high for a lot of places.
Sure. And a lot of those places will produce a lot of, if you're producing the cannabis and you're selling it.
Oh, that's the best deal you got going.
If you can grow it cheap enough.
Yeah.
Right. If you can, grow it for $500 or $700 a pound inside and then resell it for that, that's decent money. That's really good money. But I guess my point is is that restaurants, farmers, entrepreneurs throughout the world operate on 10 and 12% net profit. And it just takes a skilled business person to operate in that manner. And you're still making money as the dispensaries, right? At these low prices. You have to get the customers coming to buy it.
And you have to have the staff, of course.
Yeah, you have to have the staff and all of that. But there's still money to be made out there. And if you're in the cannabis industry and you're like, well, man, I can produce $170, $190 pounds in a greenhouse, and I can sell them for $350 or $500 a pound. You're making good money.
Yeah, there's still no doubt about that.
Mm-hmm.
It may not be the profit margin you think you should be getting, or you used to be getting,
or you feel entitled to be
or
getting.
you feel entitled to be getting.
Right.
Yes.
But it is, the sky is not falling there. Will many people go out of business in Oklahoma?
Well, of course. I mean,
people
have already gone out of business, and it's just the nature of business. Not 100% of all businesses don't survive in any industry.
So, especially in a boom and bust scenario.
Especially in a boom and bust. Yeah. Especially with the banking issues we have and the tax issues. And, it's not simple.
Well, one interesting thing from my perspective is, we operate hydroponic stores and, potting soil manufacturing is, how bad the manufacturers are and how much the prices have risen on our side. Inflation has truly hit, in all of your cannabis grow equipment. At Cultivate Colorado, Cultivate OKC, we operate an online shop there, cultivateokc.com, cultivatecolorado.com. People from all over the country and the world buy products from us. And, we have seen, we still understand there's the demand there. And even though we have a decrease in business in our retail shops in Colorado and in Oklahoma, we're still on an up 3-year average. Last year was a banner year for us, but we've been able to still do pretty good. And, we may operate a little bit differently than other people, but many of the stores that are, because we've been around for such a long time, and many of the other stores, including Grow Generation and, some of the other smaller stores that either are just oversized or underdeveloped, they're having a struggle hanging on to this, industry. But, we have a really well-established business at Cultivate Colorado. We expect to weather this storm, well. We're definitely talking to our customers. We're offering the best prices we can. We know everyone's struggling. We see new products come out all the time. But this past couple of years, we haven't seen any new products come out.
There's a couple new products that have come out.
Well, I guess you're right. I do have some products coming out. At Growers, our potting soil company. If you're not familiar with us, we make potting soil outside Denver, Colorado. Some of the highest quality potting soil in the world made from cocoa fiber. We're coming out with 2 new products right now
that we're actually using.
Yeah, you've been prototyping our organic cocoa for a moment.
Absolutely, great cocoa.
Yeah, so we're coming out with a organic cocoa and a 70-30, and we've actually put these off for a moment, but are coming out with them right now. uh, at really great prices because everybody's having a hard time right now.
Well, it's also, just thinking post COVID and everything going on with not only inflation, but it is supply chain issues. So, really noticing that there are things in all of our grocery stores and markets that we notice just isn't there anymore because of supply chain.
Oh yeah, it has been hard. We have bought more cocoa fiber than we thought we were going to use. We really tried to get the biggest deals from from our suppliers, the best deals, so we could, be able to like meet this market because
And even have it in stock when you need it.
Struggling, to manufacturers just struggling to get materials. But yeah, so we got a 70/30 cocoa fiber coming out. We've got a organic cocoa fiber coming out right now. Call us at Cultivate Colorado. Look us up at Growers Grown on Instagram, Cultivate Colorado on Instagram and Facebook, and follow your progress there. If you're in the Colorado area, we're offering incredible prices to you right now on this product. So give us a call if you're in Oklahoma or Michigan or anywhere in the country. If you're a grower or if you're a grow store, drop us a line at Growers Cocoa or at Cultivate Colorado. We'd love to help it out. How do people get in touch with you and your organization, Jessica?
In my organization, if you are a commercial grower in Oklahoma and you want clones, you can reach us at, you can go to our website, which is clone-city.com. On Instagram, we're at The Clone City and also Clone Nursery, because you got to have more than one. And then you can always just Google Clone City, Oklahoma, and we come up.
You guys have these days?
Oh my gosh, probably around 50 these days. Wow. We've really expanded our mom rooms and got
Most
some
of
great.
Selected.
They're all We plant a bunch of seeds. We select for specific phenos, and then we grow them at least 2 different ways in Oklahoma, and then we put them out on the market. So we know they're actually going to survive in greenhouses and outdoor.
Yeah, well, it's great speaking to you today, Jessica. I fortunately I get to get your wisdom on the cannabis industry all the time. Is there anything you'd like to say to fellow women business?
I do. I always have things I want to say.
Women business owners or just cannabis business owners in general.
I'm going to say cannabis owners and business owners in general, even if you're not in the cannabis space yet and you're just thinking of any business endeavor. It is a long game. There is no shortcuts. Like I said, you may do well successfully at first, and then that's when your hurdles start. But don't think this is an easy, like I'm in and out and I'm going to just, it is a long game, and enjoy it. Have fun. Please honor and respect the plants and your employees and your business contacts, the earth, all of it. But definitely it is not a short game. It's a long game. So be patient, take deep breaths, connect with the other people in your industry community, and don't feel entitled to anything, because we're not.
Hey, and I just want to say, all you listeners, we love you all. Keep the plant in your heart and just keep going. Times may be tough, but just roll the biggest joint you can and fire it up.
We're about to.
This has been The Real Dirt.